Okay, we're on Eruvin, Perek Gimel, Mishnah Vav. Sixth Mishnah in the third chapter of Eruvin. In the last Mishnah, let's just take you back. We learned that, let's say I didn't know, Shabbat came, I'm in Yad Binyamin, and I didn't know, and so therefore let's move my 2,000 amot back in each direction. We're talking about Eruvei Tchumin. So Shabbat came, and I didn't know which direction I wanted to move in. So the Mishnah says the following. The Mishnah says, I can put an Eruv on one side and an Eruv on the other side, and on Shabbat morning, when I find out that the Rav came to Yesodot, then I can say, okay, I want this Eruv to have an effect, and therefore my center of gravity, my Shvita, will be here, and I can take the 2,000 amot to my Shvita, and another 2,000 amot to get to Yesodot. I remind you, these maps are not to scale. I don't know if it's 2,000 amot to Yesodot or Gedera. We don't know. Nonetheless, this is just for examples purposes. Our Mishnah, so that's what we learned in the last Mishnah. Our Mishnah is now going to ask a different question. What happens if I have 2 days, Shabbat and Yom Tov consecutively, or Yom Tov and Shabbat? And now, but I heard that one Rav is coming to Yesodot on Shabbat, and I want to go hear another Rav in Gedera on Sunday, on the day after Shabbat. Can I do that or not? Can I have two separate Eruvim for 2 separate days, in two separate but consecutive days, let's make that in the middle, 2 separate but consecutive days of Shabbat and Yom Tov? So this all hinges on the question of, are Shabbat and Yom Tov, I made you a chart, Kiyom Echad Aroch, one long day, which you call Kedusha Achat. Meaning, when Shabbat comes in, it's Shabbat and Yom Tov, so then from now until the end of Yom Tov, it's called one long Kedusha. Or is it Kishnei Yamim Nifradim, Shdei Kedushot? Is it one Kedusha or 2 Kedushot? And this has 2 halachic ramifications. I'll make this just a little bigger. Hopefully it'll help you see. There's 2 halachic ramifications. If it's what, the first question is, how many Eruvin do you need for the 2 days? So if you say it's Kedusha Achat, then you only need 1 Eruv for both days. This also has a second ramification. What happens if the Eruv is lost between the first day and the second day? Or I don't know if I have an Eruv on the Ben HaShabbat of the second day. So if I say it's Kedusha Achat, if it's 1 Kedusha, then do I need Ha'im Sarich Eruv Liot Bimkomo B'tchilat Yom Sheni? Does it have to be in its place? So the answer would be no. Why? As long as the Eruv was there before the first day, Nitfas, it's fine because it's all 1 Kedusha. On the other hand, if it's Shtei Kedusha, then of course I need 2 Eruvin, but I also need an Eruv at the beginning of the second day. I need the Eruv to be in its place. Why? Because the second day is another Kedusha. And therefore, on the second day, the Kedusha has to be there in order for me to for the Eruv to be Nitfas. That's the discussion in our Mishnah, and it turns out it's a machloket, but not in the way that you might think. Says the Mishnah, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Rabbi Eliezer says, Yom Tov asamuch l'Shabbat. Yom Tov that's adjacent or associated with Shabbat, i.e. Yom Tov before Shabbat or after Shabbat. And that's the case that we're discussing here. Bein milfaneha or bein me'achareha. Doesn't whether whichever one is first or second. Me'arev adam shnei eruvin. So Rabbi Eliezer says a person can make shnei eruvin. I lost my place. There we go. Ve'omer, and he says, Eruvei harishon lemizrach ve'sheni lema'arav. Harishon lema'arav ve'sheni lemizrach. This is what we just said. Rabbi Eliezer says can make 2 eruvin, and then the first day I'm going to go to Mizrach to the Yesodot, and the second day to Gedera, and it works fine. And it doesn't matter. You can have 2 separate days. I just moved that so I can see more of it. Okay. Or, Eruvi Harishon, there we go. Eruvi Harishon, Vasheni Kibnei Iri. Or I could say, listen, I want to go to Yesodot on the first day, and the second day I want my Shvita to be in Yad Binyamin, so I can go out this far. Meaning I want to have both. I want to have 1 day. Let's move that over here. I want 1 day. I'm going to make that a different color. Let's make it blue. Here we go. 1 day, I want my Shvita to be to the east, so I can get to Yesodot. And on the second day, I want this area. I don't want to negate this area. I want this to be my Shvita. I want the whole 2,000 amot around Yad Binyamin. Says Rabbi Eliezer, no problem. Eruvi Hasheni. Or I could say the second, I want my Eruv to take effect on the second day. Rabbi Shon, Kibnei Iri, in the first one, Kibnei Iri. That's Rabbi Eliezer's opinion. So it's clear that Rabbi Eliezer holds that it's like 2 separate, it's 2 separate Kedushot, and therefore you have 2 Eruvin on 2 days. Okay. Chachamim say, Me'arev l'ruach achat, o eno me'arev kol ikar. You can only make an Eruv in one direction or not at all. O me'arev l'shnei yamim, o eno me'arev kol ikar. Okay? Or either you make an Eruv for both days, or you don't make an Eruv at all. Ketzad yaseh. So it seems that the Rabbanan, the Chachamim hold, no, it's the Eruv Kedusha is 1 Kedusha. So therefore it's 1 Eruv for 2 days. That's what the Chachamim say. but they're going to add Ketzad Yaseh. We're going to see that the Chachamim is a little bit more nuanced. Ketzad Yaseh. What should he do? Let's move this down a little bit. Ketzad Yaseh. Molicho barishon. You have to bring it on the Erev of the first day. Umachshich alav, and then you wait till nightfall, i.e. you wait for the Shvita to take effect. V'not lo ubalo. It's talking about Yom Tov, obviously. So on Erev Yom Tov, let's go to our map, right? You have one in one direction. You can only get one direction. The two doesn't work. So you take it the first day. You take your Eruv on the first day. Okay, Molicho Rishon, and then you have Shvita, and then you go back. Okay. And then, so therefore, you could go to Yesodot because this is your Shvita. You go from Yad Binyamin to Yesodot. This Eruv is not in effect. So this is your Eruv. Okay, you have Shvita. I'm going to move this back, send it to the, oops. I don't want to send it backwards, but I can't, it's a little difficult. Okay, then I have Shvita. Okay, and then you go back, and then you go back to Yad Binyamin, and this is your area. That's what the Mishnah says. Basheni, on the second day, Machshich alav v'ochlo. Then you go back on the second day and make sure that it's there. And then you're machshich alav, and then you can eat it. Okay? V'nimsa mistaker b'hadichato u'mistaker be'eruvo. Therefore, you benefit from your walking. You go there to make sure that it was there, and you benefit from your eruv. Ne'echal b'rishon. If it was eaten on the first day, let's say you go back on the second night. Okay, let's go in this direction because I have access to this eruv. So we're gonna move this way to the side. I want to go to Gedera. Says the Rabbanan, you can only go in one direction at all. You go to Gedera, so therefore you go on the first night. You make sure the Erev is there, you're machshich alav, and then you go back to Yad Binyamin. The second night you go, you can eat it, and then you have it for the second night because you knew that it was there. Now, if you went there and ne'echal b'rishon, if you went there and you found it was eaten, eruvo l'rishon ve'ein eruvo l'sheni. It's an Erev for the first, and it's not an Erev for the second day. What in the world is going on here? Because according to Chachamim, remember, if they held that it was kedusha achat, why in the world, it seems to be you should not need the Erev on the second day? So the Bartanura says the following. The Bartanura says, Rabbi Lezer holds Shabbat and Yom Tov is not like one long day, ela shtei gedushot. But the Chachamim said the following to Rabbi Eliezer. Okay. Hachi ka'amrile, Rabbanan and the Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbanan said, Iya talmod el yom echad, de omer arev leruach achat, or inem arev kol ikar. If you're only talking about one day, you can't split one day. You either go all or nothing. There's no halves. You can only go in one direction. A person can't say, half day I want to go to the east and half to the west. So for 2 days, Shabbat Yom Tov, so for Yom Tov, you only go one, you can only do it for one direction or not at all. So the Rabbanan say they have a safek, sfeikalu. They're not sure. They don't say it's one. Rabbi Lezer was sure. He said it's kedusha achat. I'm sorry, shtei kedushot. But Chachamim said it's not that we know it's kedusha achat. We have a safek, and therefore, since it's safek, we have to be machmir. In the case of being machmir, that means you need not one eruv. You need one eruv. I'm sorry, for 2 days, because we can't allow you to have the kula of 2 eruv on 2 days. But since we're choshesh that it might be shtei kedushot, like you said, Rabbi Lezer, therefore, yes, you have to go back on the second day and make sure that the eruv is there. So you have the Chachamim are machmir on Eruv Achad Shtei Yamim, and they also are machmir and say that you have to have an Eruv on both days. Whereas Rabbi Lezer is l'shitato, who says it's Shtei Kedushot, and therefore I can do Shtei Eruvim, but he also says, of course, you need it to be there for the second day. And that's where Rabbi Lezer, the Mishnah finishes and says, Amar Rabbi Eliezer, he says, you would then agree that it must be Shtei Kedushot. Why? Since you say you need the Erev on the second day, I see you hold Shtei Kedushot. The Chachamim's answer is no. Not that we hold the Shtei Kedushot, we're choshesh, maybe there's Shtei Kedushot, and therefore we require it to be machmir. But since we're choshesh, maybe it's one Kedusha, you only are allowed to have, according to our opinion, one Eruv for both days, and you can't go in both directions. We'll stop here. As always, comments or questions, I hope these charts are helping you. Email me at arspalter@gmail.com. I will dedicate our learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Have a great day.